the verses from Canto 4, Chapter 1. And the way the chapter ends is the lineage of the genealogy of descendants from Lord Brahma, Daksha's daughters, the marriage of Daksha's daughters to different personalities and sons from those marriages and so forth. And the way the chapter ends is the youngest of the daughters of Daksha was who? Sati. And so Sati chose her husband, Lord Shiva. And Daksha didn't like it. And so the beginning of the next chapter is what Daksha did to express he didn't like it. And because of that topic, and because Sunday is Sivaratri, and we'll be busy with our everything, so we won't be honoring Sivaratri in the way we would normally be honoring Sivaratri, I thought this morning let me spend some time doing what we would do on Sunday, because we won't have time on Sunday. That is, some of the glories of Lord Shiva. And that's our morning discussion. And then tomorrow morning, something similar. Part 2. Of course, this one says Part 2. So Part 1. The worship of Lord Shiva by Vaishnavas. So let's go to the last verse that we read was 59. And so we're going to begin with text 60 till the end of the chapter. And I'm not going to do the Sanskrit, there's a lot of verses. Svaha, the wife of Agni. Text 60. The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Svaha 3 children, named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice. Purport. After describing the descendants of the 13 wives of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha, Maitreya now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha, Svaha, and her 3 sons. Oblations offered in the sacrificial fire are meant for the demigods, and on behalf of the demigods, the 3 sons of Agni and Svaha, namely Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi, accept the oblations. So 2 things. When we perform yajnas, the offering oblations it's Svaha. This is Svaha. She's one of the daughters of Daksha married to Agni. And another detail is Srila Prabhupada named one of his disciples Svaha, and she married Ambarish Prabhu. So Ambarish Prabhu and Svaha. Text 61. From those 3 sons, another 45 descendants were generated, who are also fire gods. The total number of fire gods is therefore 49, including the fathers and the grandfather. Purport. Here's how the 49 comes. The grandfather is Agni. The sons are Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi. Counting these 4 plus 45, they're altogether 49. It's good math. fire gods. And, Prabhupada named some of his disciples, like Pavaman, a very nice devotee from San Diego. Did you ever meet him?
Yes.
Yeah, Pavaman, nice devotee. Pavamana Das. Text 62. These 49 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in the Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist brahmanas, purport. Impersonalists who perform Vedic fruitive sacrifices are attracted to the various fire gods and offer oblations in their name. The 49 fire gods are described herewith. Text 63. The Agnishvatas, the Barhishsadas, the Somyas, and the Ajapas are the Pitas. They are either Sanika or Niragnika. No purport. The wife of all these Pitas is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. Text 64. Swadha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dardani, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. Text 65. The 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband, and the why is explained in the final verse of the chapter. The reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. Purport. Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never even constructed a home for his residence. Sati was the daughter of a great king, Daksha, and because his youngest daughter, Sati, selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, he unnecessarily criticized her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of 4th canto, 1st chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, genealogical table of the daughters of Manu. So tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 2, verse number 1, where Vidura is going to be asking Maitreya some questions about Lord Shiva and the whole situation. Someone that's not, I'm repeating something that Radhik Raman said in his seminar, like, if someone says something in the Bhagavatam is irrelevant, or as we heard yesterday, superfluous, or something, and how is it relevant to me, and why is this in the Bhagavatam, and Vyasadeva made a boo-boo. or something like that. It's because, his statement is because that person has not sufficiently read and properly read with the right ear of reception to hear what the Bhagavatam is describing. There's nothing extraneous, superfluous, etc., etc., etc. So there are a number of reasons of why genealogical tables are there. And one of the reasons, there's several reasons. One of the reasons is that the source of everything is a person, and then everything that comes from the source is also a person. So, how did it all begin? Supposing one doesn't accept there's a person, then they have to come up with another explanation, or they may come up with another explanation. So they comes once upon a time. And then, the varieties of once upon a time. There was nothing. Or once upon a time, there was something. And the something was matter. Prabhupada calls it the chunk. And then some time passed, and there's no cause, just for some causeless reason, the chunk exploded. And the pieces of the chunk went flying in all directions. And then when it cooled down, then became planets and the universe, and then then matter got together and say, hey, that form life. Yeah, that's a good idea. So this matter met with that matter and said, let's make friendship, and they produced life. From nothing, or from a chunk. So if there's going to be, not if, since there is an explanation that the source of everything is the Supreme Person, that's the Vedic perspective, then there must be, and in fact there is, a description of how, our ancestors, or how from persons come persons. And it's there to such a degree that someone may say, oh, why is all this here? But one of the reasons is that reason. There's that behind everything is a person, and then the how did we get here? There's persons. We're descended from the original person. That's one of the reasons, an important reason. And then, another nice reason is just like the previous before the set of verses we just read, Narayan Rishi, out of the long list of this, then the other. So then how forms of the Lord appear. And they may, often they appear as in a lineage of descendants. And what's the story behind Narayan Rishi choosing to be, or how is that selection done? That he appears as the son of this one, that one, and then he does this thing, that thing, the other thing. And to understand, so part of the Bhagavatam is to understand the distinctions between things, the source, and then both material, spiritual, and then in the material, the spiritual descends and appears, and does things that are not material, in the realm of material. It's just it's part of the picture of how we got here, and then what came before us and what's going to come after us. In a way, at least accepted by Vaishnavas, in a way that's from an infallible source. Because how are we going to know any of this stuff from an infallible source? If you hear from a fallible source, guess what? The explanation is fallible. Maybe high-sounding, or maybe whatever it may be, and maybe a bunch of people get together and say, yeah, that's how it happened. And then another group comes along and says, no, that's not how it happened. This is how it happened. And then you hear many voices, and how did it happen? Out of those many voices. Because there's no authority. It's a free-for-all. So that's another reason why genealogical tables are important. The details are not likely, unless you're an impersonalist and you want who the 49 names, and it seems to indicate when the impersonalists are doing rituals to get stuff, although they want to become detached from stuff, but they do rituals that get stuff. Then they, by name, they invoke. They have many mantras, and you got to be a really good impersonal Brahmin to be able to know all those 49 and say their names and swaha. So, okay, they must know what they're doing, right? Because they're saying all these mantras. They must know what they're doing. And, to some extent, they know what they're doing in pursuit of the impersonal feature. And then there's varieties of impersonalists. And then that's like a whole other story. But these 49 personalities that are fire gods are the recipients of the oblations into fire. And thus the mantra and the offerings, and they're the recipients. That's true for Vaishnavas as well as for impersonalists. But then, depending upon what brand of impersonalism you have, or you adhere to, they're just imaginary. They don't exist. But we say mantras to those persons that don't exist. Pardon me? Well, yeah, we follow this to get that. We've got our destination is that. What's that? Impersonal Brahman. So it's a process to get there. We're gyanis, so we follow this system of knowledge that comes from the Vedas, with the understanding that the goal is the impersonal Brahman. So the features of it's convoluted, isn't it? So because in honor of Shivaratri, let us spend some time on Lord Shiva, because he's going to be our topic tomorrow morning and a little bit on Sunday. For starters, there is this saying in the followers of Lord Chaitanya, or amongst Vaishnavas in general, there are two topics that are very difficult to understand properly. And one of them is Shiva Tattva. Another is Guru Tattva, because of the diversity of that Tattva, and how that diversity of Tattva manifests in different ways. And at least my sense is that Shiva Tattva is far more complex than anything else. But because you'll see in the next 2 mornings, like tomorrow morning, where does Lord Shiva reside? We'll hear tomorrow morning. Well, there's scriptural references that say there's at least 8 different places where he resides. We'll see the names and the references and what goes on in those places, and he's busy in different manifestations of him. So what's going to be displayed here are different scriptural references that make some statements about Shiva Tattva, who he is, and for that the reason that he is who he is, Vaishnavas worship him, not in the same way that Shaivites worship him. We will touch upon the difference and non-difference between Lord Shiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and see the Acharya's glorification of Gopishwara Mahadeva, Lord Shiva, in the Gopi form, who guards the rasa dance arena. Primary references: Bhakti Sandarbha, Brahma Samhita, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. From Bhakti Sandarbha, Anuched 265. Among the 10 offenses to the holy name, Padma Purana, offense number 2 and 9 contain the word Shiva. To consider the names of the demigods, this is number 2, offense number 2, like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of, or equal to or independent of, the grammar is not right, the holy name of Lord Vishnu. Here's the Sanskrit: Shivasya Shri Vishnu Ya Iha Guna Namani Sakalam. Shivasya, the name of Lord Shiva, Shri Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, Ya, who, Iha, in this world, in this material world, Guna, qualities, Nama, name, Adi, Sakalam, everything. Diya, with the conception, Diya Binam, different, or possibly non-different. So rather than the word for word. This second offense, Abhinam, is independent, equal to Abhina, or independent of Binam. So equal to, it's like clear, he's not equal to, nor is he independent of Binna. The 9th offense, it is an offense to preach the glories of the holy name of the Lord to the faithless. And the word Shiva appears in this offense number 9. And there's Shiva, auspicious. Now, because Shiva can mean the person, or Shiva can mean auspicious. In his commentary on this verse, Madhvacharya, you just did something. What'd you do? Huh?
Nothing. I removed the power buttons.
Okay. You got so many cables. I don't know how you do it. Madhvacharya quotes the following verse from Brahmanda Purana. Now this is Madhvacharya. Because he drives away pain, Vishnu is called Rudra. Because he is the controller, he is called Ishana. Because he is the greatest, he is called Mahadev. He is called Pinaki, the holder of a trident, because he is the support of persons who, liberated from the ocean of samsara, enjoy the spiritual sky, Pinaka. He is called Shiva because he is the embodiment of happiness. He is called Hara because he destroys everything. He is called Kritivasa because he lives in and operates the body which produces action, Kritya. He is called Virinchi because he extends beyond. He is called Brahma because he expands. He is called Indra because he has power. Thus, the one Supreme Lord is glorified in various types of names in the Vedas and Puranas. So let's go back to the is offense to preach the glories of the holy name to the faithless. That seems pretty innocent. But, you know, Madhvacharya has a lot to say about this. The meaning of offense number 2 is, he who sees by his intelligence that Shiva's qualities and names are different from Vishnu's, arising from a separate Shakti, is an offender, since it is well known that Vishnu is ultimately everything. Absolute identity would have been expressed by adding the word cha after Vishnu, or Shivasya Vishnu's cha. The superiority of Vishnu is indicated by the word Shri to his name. In the word Shiva, in Shiva Namaparad, the ninth offense, refers to Shiva as Vishnu's name. I'll read it again. The word Shiva in Shiva Namaparad, ninth offense, refers to Shiva as Vishnu's name, which is what Madhvacharya had to say with his reference, Brahmanda Purana. One of Vishnu's 1,000 names is Shiva. Giving the name to the faithless illustrates an offense committed by an instructor of the name rather than simply chanting, then an offense committed by the person instructed is given. The meaning is, quote, he who has no respect for the name after hearing its glories because he completely identifies with I and mine is an offender. A little intricate, yes? We can go over this again. So this is now Bhakti Sandarbha, Anuchhed 2:13. Shuddha Bhakta Shri Guru Shri Srivasya Bhagavata Saha. Some pure devotees say that the spiritual master and Lord Shiva are both non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are seen in this way because they are both dear to the Lord. That's a relief, huh? Anuchhed 106. The attempt to be independent of the Lord, or to take shelter of someone other than the Lord, is treated with contempt in these words, that both Brahma and Shiva are devotees of Lord Vishnu and engage in his devotional service as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Shiva is described in these words. Here's 12th, Canto 12, Chapter 13. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme amongst deities, and Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, the greatest of Vaishnavas, so Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. Jiva Goswami. Then, next verse. Markandeya Rishi says to Lord Shiva, but I do request one benediction from you, who are full of all perfection and able to shower down the fulfillment of all desires. I ask to have unfailing devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his dedicated devotees, especially you. It's a nice prayer. Lord Shiva is addressed as Tat Pareshu, or devotee of Lord Shiva, a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes Lord Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan. From Canto 12, Chapter 10, Bhagavan Shiva said, "Surely this saintly Brahmana, Markandeya Rishi, does not desire any benediction, not even liberation itself, for he has attained pure devotional service unto the inexhaustible personality of Godhead." Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lord Shiva said. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the phrase Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Blessed Lord said, which is mostly used for indicating Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, is used in the case of Lord Shiva, gives these examples. Lord Brahma gives one example, and Shaktivesh avatars such as Kapila and Narayana, Rishi. And the word Bhagavan is used for addressing not only Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, but also a number of personalities, including Shukadev Goswami, Vyasadeva, Narada, Kashyapa, Priyavrata, Vashishta, Shukracharya, Maitreya, Indra, sun god Brahma, Shiva, etc. As Srila Prabhupada writes, this designation Bhagavan is sometimes conferred upon a pure devotee by the grace of the Lord, so that he will be very highly esteemed. From a purport. In this regard, Lord Shiva, as Sri Bhagavan, denotes his position as a sincere devotee and a powerful representative of the Lord. Just to clear some confusion that might be floating around sometimes. The Prajetas, those fellows on the left, say to eight-armed Lord Vishnu, "Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you, and who is your most intimate friend, we were fortunate to attain you. You are the most expert physician, capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our great fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet." Shiva should be worshipped as a Vaishnava. So that's the topic. What are the circumstances or consciousness of Vaishnavas worshipping Lord Shiva? Should be worshipped as a Vaishnava. If one has to worship Shiva in some circumstance, some Vaishnavas say that one should worship the Lord within Shiva's form. There is a story in Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, and the story goes, the pure Vaishnava gives all honor to Lord Shiva because he is a pure Vaishnava also. Sometimes, some people become Vaishnavas by worshipping Lord Shiva. This is explained in Adivaraha Purana. Quote, by worshipping Lord Shiva for many thousands of births, a person becomes wise and free from sins. Then he becomes a Vaishnava. Reference from Brahma Samhita, verse number 45. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the actions of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause, namely milk, so I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. You know, Bhaktisiddhanta's language is very precise and very difficult to follow. So there's some milk and there's some lemon, and mix the two and you get dahi. Purport. Shambhu, the presiding deity of Mahesh Dham, is not a second Godhead other than Krishna. The supremacy of Shambhu is subservient to that of Govinda. Hence, they are not really different from each other. The non-distinction is established by the fact that just as milk treated with acid turns into curd, so Godhead becomes subservient when he himself attains a distinct personality by the addition of a particular element of adulteration. This personality has no independent initiative. So there's the glance of Mahavishnu. The said adulterating principle is constituted of a combination, fasten your seatbelt, of the stupefying quality of the diluting energy, the quality of non-plenitude and the marginal potency, and a slight degree of ecstatic cognitive principle of the plenary spiritual potency. Clear, right? Bhakti Siddhanta, help us. Well, a project that's in the Forever parking lot is making, because Jiva Goswami also made commentary before Bhakti Siddhanta made commentary. It's in Sanskrit and it's been translated. So I had a plan, and it's in the Forever parking lot, to write yet a third commentary or translation commentary on Sri Brahma Samhita that's understandable. Deep breath. So the stupefying quality of the diluting energy, okay, Maya. The said adulterating principle is constituted of combination of Maya, the quality of non-plenitude of the marginal potency, so the marginal potency, that's living entity, the jiva. It's not exactly a jiva, but it's a mixture, combination of that non-plenitude and a slight degree of the ecstatic cognitive principle. So he, Lord Shiva, has a combination of these things, this ecstatic cognitive, so chit and ananda. Slight degree of the chit and ananda principle of the plenary spiritual potency. So he, Lord Shiva, has these two characteristics because he's of the Supreme, but a slight degree compared to the plenary. And of the spiritual potency, this isn't, the spiritual potency is that there's the potent and there's the potency. So, the potency is the Swarup Shakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the illustration is meant to show something we'll see tomorrow, but there's the glance of Mahavishnu, and the glance of Mahavishnu is glancing over Pradhan, pictured here as Durga or Maya, and with his glance, with Mahavishnu's glance, goes the glance of Mahavishnu, which is called Shambhu. The glance of Mahavishnu is called Shambhu, and within that glance, Shambhu, carrying the glance, is the living entities in time. Tomorrow. In the work of the mundane creation, to Bhakti Siddhanta's language again, in the work of preservation by the destruction of sundry asuras, and in the work of destruction to conduct the whole operation, Govinda manifests himself as Guna Avatar in the form of Shambhu, who is the separated portion of Govinda imbued with the principle of his subjective plenary portion. Imbued with the principle of his subjective plenary portion. So Mahavishnu, subjective plenary portion. There's the object and the subject, subjective plenary portion, Mahavishnu. Imbued with the principle of his subjective plenary portion. I'll read this again. In the work of mundane creation, as the material cause, in the work of preservation by the destruction of sundry asuras, and in the work of destruction to conduct the whole operation, Govinda manifests himself as Guna Avatar in the form of Shambhu, who is the separated portion of Govinda imbued with the principle of his subjective plenary portion. Shoo. Jiva Goswami, help us out, please. What's he saying here? The personality of the destructive principle, Lord Shiva, in the form of time, has been identified with that of Shambhu by scriptural evidences. The purport of the Bhagavata slokas, namely Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, etc., is that Shambhu, in pursuance of the will of Govinda, works in union with his consort Durga Devi by his own time energy. There he is, Shankaracharya, with his Ekadanda followers. He teaches pious duties, dharma, as stepping stones to the attainment of spiritual service in the various tantra shastras, etc., suitable for the jivas of different grades of the conditioned existence. In obedience to the will of Govinda, Shambhu maintains and fosters the religion of pure devotion by preaching the cult of illusion, Mayavad. And in the speculative Agama Shastras. So Bhaktisiddhanta is making a connection between Shankaracharya preaching Mayavad and Lord Shiva. I'll read it again. In obedience to the will of Govinda, Shambhu maintains and fosters the religion of pure devotion by preaching the cult of illusionism and the speculative Agama Shastras. So how does he foster the religion of pure devotion? By having Shankaracharya do his thing. One answer is, you fellows, go over there. Don't adulterate pure devotion. Thank you. In obedience with the will of Govinda, Shambhu maintains and fosters the religion of pure devotional service by preaching the cult of illusion. So, the relation of Shankaracharya with Lord Shiva is implicit. He's, carrying some potency of Shankaracharya. The 50 attributes of individual souls are manifest in a far vaster measure in Shambhu, and 5 additional attributes, not attainable by jivas, are also partly found in him. So Shambhu cannot be called a jiva. He is the Lord of jiva, but yet partakes of the nature of the separated portion of Govinda. And there's a little asterisk, additional attributes. There's the list. There's the 5. Changeless, all cognizant, ever fresh, Satchit Ananda, possessing an eternal blissful body and possessing all mystic perfections. They're partly found in him, not fully. Brihat Bhagavatamrita 2.3.57. He, Lord Shiva, is the giver of material enjoyment and liberation, and he expands devotion to the personality of Godhead. He's very accomplished. He is worshipped even by the liberated and is dear to the Vaishnavas. Commentary. Lord Shiva is Bhagavat Bhakti Vardhana in more than one sense. By showing a loving attitude toward the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, Lord Shiva increases the Supreme Lord's reciprocal love for him. And apart from this, Lord Shiva is himself a great Lord, Bhagavan, who promotes the process of devotional service to Vishnu. He teaches his own devotees this Bhagavad Bhakti. That Bhagavad Bhakti is the supreme goal of life, greater than all others. The essential meaning of Lord Shiva's being Bhagavad Bhakti Vardhana is that his very words, by his very words and behavior, he increases for the inhabitants of the universe their devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is very dear to the devotees of Lord Vishnu who aspire for his association. Another verse. Drawn by the devotion of his friend, Kuvera, Lord Shiva has a friend. He is traveling with his beloved Parvati and dear gentle companions to grace Mount Kailash with his presence. He came from his own planet, as transcendental as he is, an abode reached through devotion by those who see him and Lord Krishna as non-different, apratak. Commentary. Lord Shiva's own planet beyond the coverings of the material universe is attainable by those who worship him and Lord Vishnu on the same level. That transcendental world is suitable for Lord Shiva's pleasure, equipped as it is with all kinds of eternal and unlimited opulence. And from the first part of Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Narada says to Lord Shiva, once, just to please Lord Krishna, you expressed the desire to become even greater than he. But then you very cleverly modified your request, asking him instead to make you his devotee. Next verse. Therefore, the Supreme Lord granted you and the goddess Durga the authority to give liberation, the liberation for which Brahma and many others pray. And then this is concluding, Gopishwara Mahadeva. So we see the rasa dance, and there's Radha and Krishna in the center of the rasa dance and many gopis. And then down in the lower right, there's Narada Muni, that's Naradi. And then there's Gopishwara Mahadeva. There she is. The gopi with the snakes around her neck. And Asuri Muni, that's the same place at the where the rasa dance was performed. Gopishwara at Vangshivat, Gopishwara Mahadeva Mandir, all in the same geographic area. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhaja Lila, the pastime of rasa dance is honored as Lila Sar, the quintessence of all pastimes. In this regard, Lord Shiva as a gopi guarding the rasa dance arena can be likewise special among his manifold identities. Acharyas glorified and offered prayers to Gopishwara Mahadeva to attain love for the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami in Mathura Mahatmya, the glories of Mathura, he speaks of the 12 forests. By fasting and bathing in that place, one attains limitless result. The deity Gopishwara there destroys great sins. And Raghunath Das Goswami, in his writings, desiring to attain the precious gift of being embraced by the arms of Brajendra Nandana Shyamasundara, the splendid gopis, filled with pranaya, devotedly and happily worshipped Gopishwara Mahadeva on the bank of the Yamuna. I daily worship that Gopishwara Mahadeva, who quickly granted the gopis their desire. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his writing, Sri Vrajadam Mahimamrita, here's the verse. All glories to Gopishwara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmana friend Madhumangal. And from Vishnunath Chakrabarti Thakur, O Shiva, Sankalpa, Kalpadrumada, Kalpadruma. O Shiva, O protector of Vrindavan, all glories to you, O husband of Uma. O Lord, who carry the moon in your hair. O you who are worshipped by Sanandana, Sanatana, and Narada Muni. O Gopishwara, please give me unconditional divine love for the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, who enjoy pastimes in Braja again and again. I bow before you. Narahari Chakrabarti Thakur in his Bhakti Ratnakar. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Gopishwara, who is merciful Lord Shiva himself. He removes all troubles and grants spiritual love in Vrindavan. Now several verses. How wonderful is the beauty of this forest. Here is the transcendental Linga Vigraha named Gopishwara. This Sadashiva, the transcendental source of all Shivas, protects Vrindavan. Anyone who worships him will be successful in all his duties. The gopis always desired Krishna's association, and therefore they always carefully worshipped Gopishwara with different ingredients. How can I describe his great glories? Because the gopikas worship him, he is called Gopishwara, master of the gopis. The devatas, like Indra, always praise him, and by his grace, one's love for Vrindavan increases. So here's the place, Gopishwara Mahadeva, in his deity form. Position of Lord Shiva in Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami. There's a non-difference between Bhagavan Vishnu and Bhagavan Shiva. From 14.192 Hari Bhakti Vilas. He who is Shiva is non-different from me or Vishnu, and I too am non-different from Bhagavan Shiva. There is non-difference between us, just as there is non-difference between the sky and the air. And here, in bold letters up top in the verse, there's Bhagavan. Bhagavan, in this case, refers to Lord Shiva. Similarly, in commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas, Digdarshani commentary, the conclusion in this regard is as follows. To consider Sri Vishnu as a separate deity and Sri Shiva as a separate deity, and then to offer obeisances, etc. to Shiva, is certainly not appropriate for Vaishnavas. However, knowing that just as Matsya, etc., are Leela avatars, similarly Sri Shiva is a Guna avatar of Sri Vishnu, and thus to see non-difference in that way does not cause any fault. In fact, it is favorable to perceive and worship Sri Shiva in that way, for it ultimately leads to devotion towards Vishnu. You see, there's a drawing, there's a deity, Harihara Kshetra, in Mayapur, where half the deity is Lord Hari and the other half of the deity is Lord Shiva. Again, Hari Bhakti Vilas. Obeisances to Shiva in the form of Vishnu and obeisances to Vishnu in the form of Shiva. Vishnu is the heart of Shiva, and Shiva is the heart of Vishnu. Again, Hari Bhakti Vilas. Those who are dedicated to Sri Narayana attain the destination beyond the highest point in this material world. However, those devotees of Narayana who are envious of Sri Shiva never attain that destination. Again, Hari Bhakti Vilas. Two types of people attain a hellish situation. For as long as the sun and moon exist, one who is my devotee, Vishnu's devotee, but envies Shankara, one who is a devotee of Shankara but envies me. Problema. Don't be envious. And here's a reference by Murari Gupta, who was a worshipper of Lord Ramachandra, but his is from his writing. Sri Shivastakam. I perpetually offer obeisances unto you, the Lord of the 30 primal devas, who are the original father of created beings, whose character is gracious, upon whose head, which is crested by the sickle moon, the Ganges springs, and who are a festival for the eyes of Gauri, the fair goddess. And the commentary is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked this verse and he sang this verse. Shiva also accepted and honored the prasad of Lord Shiva. That doesn't sound right. We have talked about the worship of Shiva by Vaishnavas from these different sources. Rupa Goswami, different acharyas. That's the end. Whew. Any questions? And I went through quickly because it's voluminous. And we could have taken time and analyzed this statement, the other statement, because of time. It's 20 minutes to 9. I just went through it quickly. Maybe what I can do is make this, all these references, this little PowerPoint presentation available to a smaller circle, because I don't want floating around and people are doing what people do sometimes. I'm willing to, I think it'd be nice to have a deeper understanding of how complex Shiva Tattva is. And tomorrow we'll also go a little bit into that as well. His different abodes. Complex. Comments? Besides, wow, complex.
Guru Maharaj, when we hear pastimes of Lord Shiva, when we hear different pastimes,
I heard you.
Lord
Yeah,
Shiva,
just keep going.
Bhagavata,
Yeah.
it could be that those pastimes are referring to Sadashiva, or they're referring to the Guna avatar.
Yeah, could be, and many things.
So it seems like it's hard to tell across the
Yes.
Bhagavatam.
It's complex. Complex things are hard to discern.
And sometimes if there seem to be some contrary qualities, it could be very well that it's one of the different form of Lord Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And all of them are Vaishnavanam Yathashambhu.
Yeah.
All of them are.
So from one comes expansions, and the one comes in the ways that we know. How he appears from the brow of Lord Brahma, but how does he appear? I mean, who is he to make that appearance? So the Tattva doesn't change. The way in which Lord Shiva appears may be like this or like that. But the Tattva doesn't change. And then there's that the Tattva has a big span. But the principle of the Tattva is as described. And that it takes the acumen of a great acharya to discern. Will the real Lord Shiva please stand up? So with matters like this, at least how I process it is, it's too complex for me. And you leave it to the acharyas that have the capacity to deal with such complex issues. But at least principles need to be understood. When it says that there's a non-difference, what it means is they're so intimately connected, this Lord Shiva or Guru are so intimately connected with Krishna or to the supreme source of everything, and vice versa, then therefore there's non-difference. But it's non-difference in that sense. So the exaltedness of these two categories are mentioned, or have been mentioned. Anyone? You want to add?
I wanted to say that particularly sweet are those sections of the Bhagavatam where the qualities of these devotees become very explicit. What's in their heart becomes very explicit through how they behave and how they speak. And there are different sprinklings all throughout the Bhagavatam of Lord Shiva, like the next chapter that is coming up with how he responds to Daksha when initially Daksha insults him, and then later when Sati immolates herself. It's such a privilege to be an observer of the qualities that these personalities exhibit throughout the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So actually, this topic reminds me of, takes me back 20 years, within the student community, back and forth exchanges of various students
Vaishnavas and Shaivites.
quoting, oh, you're referring to a particular Purana, but according to this other Purana, XYZ. So this, we have an understanding of the Puranas in the three modes, and then we want to be able to place our faith in the Puranas which are in the Sattva Gun. And maybe if there's any Puranas that align in that direction, we want to be able to follow that. But if there's any contradictions, then we focus on the Sattva Guna Puranas. So, this is definitely a very touchy topic about Shiva Tattvas, especially for people coming from India, south of India particularly, actually even north of India.
South of India.
So anyway, I was reminded of that as we were diving into this very complex topic, and then I just wanted to appreciate and share that the position that you shared about is a very complex topic, and I have faith in our acharyas, and it's very difficult for me to resolve it in my position to be able to determine what is what. But I know the personality, the acharyas, their nature, and I've benefited from that relationship, and there's no reason to doubt that. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing that. The second part of this question I had was, is there any connectivity between the Shiva Tattva and Guru Tattva?
The primary connectivity, use nice word, is the intimacy. And with intimacy comes many things. It comes an understanding of the person with whom one is intimate. The Shiva and Guru, categorically, have a profound understanding because of that intimacy. And then they, Lord Shiva and Guru, the representative of Guru Tattva, can not only understand, but then become empowered to do things that otherwise, a jiva otherwise cannot do. So the mercy flows into the lives of those two categories, Lord Shiva and the Guru. And beyond normal, like paranormal. But the primary connectivity between the two is their relationship with Krishna, or with the source. Now, in different traditions, that position of Guru, rather than saying Krishna, one may say what that tradition holds as a name of the Supreme or form of the Supreme. And you can just, change out that name and another name, that form and another form, and that's fine. At least, categorically from the category of Vishnu Tattva. So, that's the connectivity. Understandings of and ability to render service in exceptional ways by empowerment because of that intimacy. Premananda.
Maharaj, in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Markandeya Rishi's, when he was in deep meditation, Lord Shiva entered. There is that verse, is really poetic. that he entered into the heart of Markandeya, which was like a sky, just as a wind enters through a opening, something like that. There is that one verse, and somehow it always remains in my mind. And it is said there that by his mystical power, he entered into the heart of Markandeya. So, all these so many references, it talks about non-difference. At the same time, there is a difference between Vishnu and Shiva.
Yeah.
And this one talks about the mystical nature or mystical power of Lord Shiva. So that sounded a little different from who Lord Vishnu is. It's not.
Well, here, these are subtleties, and there's a who is Markandeya and what is Markandeya's relationship with Lord Shiva? Because Markandeya isn't just a Shaivite; he's a Vishnu Bhakta. During this weekend, some reference is going to be made of a different Purana's perspective on Markandeya Rishi and his existing beyond, existing eternally, which is different than what's in the Bhagavatam. So one way of looking at it is this other way, is this the modes of nature picture. Another is it's a different day of Brahma picture. But I'm not directly responding to your question. I'm just giving, there's further complexity to sort out that further complexity. So that what's important, at least, as a minimalist, follow the thread. So this other Purana narrates, same as the Bhagavatam does, that who was Markandeya Rishi's father. His father was a rishi, Markanda or something like that. And when his son was born, the astrological forecast was he would live until he was 16, and then he would die. And so his father, knowing, having the, faith in what the astrologer said, did the following. He trained his young boy to, whenever you see an elder, not just, sadhu, if you see an elder, you fall at their feet and you ask for their blessings. And the boy started really liking it, and he would run after anyone that's elder and fall at their feet and ask for their blessings. So when he turned 16, Yamaraj came to take him away, but he couldn't take him away because he had these blessings. And there's this saying, may you live a long life, blessings, common. So that's what the elders would say to him. So he couldn't do anything because he was supposed to die. Then there's this detail of there's some karma that can be changed, some karma that's difficult to change, some karma that can't be changed. His was in that third category. You can't change it. But this was more powerful than you can't change it. It changed it. So Yamaraj, this is from the other Purana, Yamaraj brought Markandeya Rishi, the son of this Markanda Rishi, to Lord Brahma. And he was going to plead his case, but before he could plead his case, the little boy ran up to Brahma and fell at his feet and asked for his blessings. And Brahma said, may you live a long life. So that was it. And then the Purana says, and he's still alive today. So the Bhagavatam has a different narration. He lived through the waters of devastation, and he saw Krishna on the banyan leaf, and Krishna sucked him in, and so there's a different description. So different day of Brahma is one option. Different modes of nature, Purana, that's another option. So now, and specifically the relationship with Lord Shiva, because he, in this other Purana, is not so much reference of his worship of Lord Shiva. At least not that I'm aware of.
I think Lord Shiva was just passing by and he saw Markandeya, and just to show him his special mercy, he entered into his hut.
Yeah. That's in the Bhagavatam, but it's not within this other Purana.
Markandeya is really such an amazing person.
There's many amazing persons in the Bhagavatam. Yeah, Varsana.
Hare Krishna. My first thought when I saw this presentation was so many references have been given, and I was thinking, when will I get to read all these books? Hopefully at least once in this lifetime. So many wonderful references out there. The second thing was just another reflection, Maharaj, was you quoted Madhvacharya, how Lord Vishnu, he's called as Rudra, he's called as Ishana, and so on and so forth. So the Supreme Lord has those names that are often referred to Lord Shiva, but he also has those names. And then the second thing is that yet there is a separate personality, Lord Shiva, as well, who is same and different, which you showed in the presentation. The question is, there was a slide, and in the bottom it said that he can grant liberation.
Huh?
That there was a slide which said Lord Shiva can give a liberation.
But what is that liberation?
They can go to his abode.
And his abode is not the abode of liberation. Right. We'll hear that tomorrow.
Okay.
To online questions.
So this is from Amara Mataji.
And most questions like this I can just plead ignorance. But go ahead.
Amara Mataji's question is, how do we understand the appearance of transcendental personalities like Lord Rudra, Lord Varaha, coming from the body of Lord Brahma, who is said to be a jiva, whose abode is within this material realm?
He's the doorway. And he gets the service. Give him a break. They have a prior existence and they appear through that doorway.
Mataji also thanked you for giving us a glimpse into the identity and glories of great Vaishnavas such as Lord Shiva. Then Kishore Krishna Prabhu's question. Padma Purana reference states that one should not see difference between Lord Shiva and Lord Hari's names, whereas one of the 10 offenses to the holy name states to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. That's an offense. So are these two contradictory?
Yeah, I would want to see the scriptural reference, please, not just the translation of the Padma Purana reference, but the actual statement of Padma Purana, because translations can get mixed up. So rather than commenting on an apparent contradiction, I'd like to see the original and assess from the original. What does the original say? And then what are commentaries by our acharyas of what the original says? And it may clear it up just by getting the right meaning and then the commentary by our acharyas, because Sanskrit translations into English can have multiple meanings, more than just one. So that's my answer to, or response to this question. Who's raising the question?
Kishore Krishna.
Kishore Krishna. If you could find the scriptural reference and then do a little homework of what our acharyas say about that specific scriptural reference. It would be very helpful for you, and then helpful for the rest of us to not just have another cloud in the sky. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.